Humans versus animals. Everyone knows that the stinky and smelly humans would easily get one-shotted by every single animal on Earth because our heroes the animals are just that cool. Or at least, that seems to be the sentiment online. There are tons of videos on YouTube about animals versus humans, and the consensus pretty much seems to be that humans, quote-unquote, stand no chance. And you know what? Personally, I am tired of people downplaying our own species. I don't know about you, but I believe in the indomitable human spirit. So in this video, we are going to rank how animals would fare, not against me or you, but against the best fighters mankind has to offer. Who are these fighters? Well, it's whoever you think fits the title, really. For me, personally, the ones to consider would be people like Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou, and Tom Aspinall. But if you think people like The Rock or Jackie Chan should be considered, then sure, they count as well. For this video, basically, I am posing the following question. If the best unarmed fighter humanity has produced had to fight an animal, would that human kill the animal? This video is about peak human, whoever you think that is, versus every animal in nature. Now, I made this video in the form of a tier list because, well, to be honest, because of laziness, a tier list is much more easier to edit. So, let's bring out the tier list and let's do this. Alright, so, first of all, we got bugs. I know that I'm using a picture of a butterfly, but this is all bugs in general. Mantises, beetles, cockroaches, ants, it don't matter. All bugs in general. I don't even feel like I need to defend myself here. The human wins. There is not a single bug on this planet that could kill a human in a fight before the human kills that bug. I don't feel like this is controversial at all. You don't even need a peak human, like pretty much almost any human on this planet could beat a bug. Moving on, we have arachnids. This is all spiders in general. Tarantulas, black widows, etc. All spiders. It's the same thing as the bugs. And once again, you don't even need a peak human for this. No spider on this planet is going to kill a human before that human kills that spider. Next, ostriches. Well, it's the ostrich and animals that look like it. You know, like a flamingo. I'm talking about those birds with like long legs and a long neck. You know what I'm talking about, right? A peak human wins. Peak human could break their legs or literally just hit it on the head. Jon Jones would easily kick this thing on the head, no problem. And the head of these things is the size of your fist. A single kick on the head is going to do some serious damage to this thing. There's nothing one of these things could do against a peak human. At most, the peak human is gonna get scratched a couple of times. That's it. Speaking of scratches, kangaroo, next. It's still the same. Yes, they have long claws. And yes, they kick, and yes, they are very built, but Mike Tyson would outbox a kangaroo. Definitely, a peak human is not beating this thing without any damage. A peak human is going to take some cuts fighting this thing, but this thing is dying. A kangaroo's dying against Francis Ngannou, let's all be real about this. But the peak human would take some damage, so that's why it's above the other animals. Next, rodents. I'm using a picture of a rat, but this is all rodents. We're talking hamsters, moles, beavers, squirrels, you name it, right? All the rodents. They are very tiny and move very quick, so they would be really annoying to deal with. But once you grab them, it's over. But they would definitely deal some damage first, 100%. Let's say Prime Mike Tyson versus a kangaroo. Prime Mike Tyson would punch the kangaroo faster than the kangaroo could react. But Mike Tyson versus a rat? The rat is definitely biting Mike Tyson a couple of times. Mike Tyson could beat a kangaroo without taking any damage. But Mike Tyson is not beating a hamster without being bitten at least once. Increasing the level of difficulty, next, birds. I'm using a bald eagle here, but this is all birds. They're tiny, they don't weigh anything. The best they have is their claws, but like it doesn't matter. You just gotta grab them and it's over. And in a fight to the death, eventually a peak human would grab these things. So birds against peak humans, humans all the time, not even a question. And by the way, yes, I know that ostriches are birds. I separate ostriches from the rest of birds because I know that if I didn't mention ostriches separately, people will leave me comments saying, oh, but what about an ostrich though? As if that would be the big checkmate moment. The truth is, no bird of any kind is beating a peak human. Moving on, house cats. Much more difficult than everything else because they have claws, they have teeth, and they're very fast, they're very agile, they're very difficult to grab onto. They're a hassle, but they're not unbeatable, and they're not killing a human instantly. No house cat has any real way of dealing with the human effectively, but the human does. Once the peak human grabs the cat, it's over. Moving on, dogs. It's the same thing as with cats, but they're bigger. Still, dogs attacking humans is a thing that happens all the time, and it's not like dogs have a 100% success rate every time it happens, right? Regular people could fight off a dog. A peak human fighter is killing a dog in a fight. So, time to raise up the power level a little bit. Deers. Well, I don't even know if that's the picture of a deer, but I'm talking about all the quadrupeds with antlers, like deers, mooses, elks, you know, all those things. When fighting an animal, half of the battle takes place in your mind. First, you have to get over the fact that you are about to fight something that has spears on its head. You get comfortable with that idea and you won half of the battle right there. The strat is pretty simple. This thing is used to rushing at you on a straight line, so all you gotta do is just move to the side, jump on it, and just rear naked choke it. And that's it. I know, I know what it sounds like. Oh, let's see you do it. I couldn't. But we're talking about peak humans here, right? Not me or you. We're putting the best humanity has to offer against one of these things. My money's on the human almost every time. These kinds of animals, you can just choke them out. I'm confident. And this marks the beginning of what I would like to call the rear naked choke arc of this video. Because I am convinced that a rear naked choke is a very effective technique against a lot of animals. And that includes both the lion and the tiger. They are a package deal. If you can beat a lion, you can beat a tiger. They're heavy, they're strong, they're fast, they have claws, they have teeth, but you could choke them out. And the reason I know you can choke them out is because I remember the story of this regular guy who went for a walk and was attacked by a mountain lion. And you know what the guy did? He literally and unironically rear naked choked the mountain lion to death. Look, the difference in size between a mountain lion and a tiger or an actual African lion is not that huge. And if a normal untrained guy can rear naked choke a mountain lion, a highly trained peak condition human definitely has chances of doing that to a tiger. Moving on, hyenas. It's the same thing as the lion and the tiger. The only reason I include them is because people will be like, oh, what about the hyena? Like, it doesn't matter. Oh, but it bites harder than... It doesn't matter. If you could rear naked choke a tiger, you could rear naked choke a hyena. Moving on, a bear. I'm using a picture of a polar bear, but this is all bears. Grizzly bear, black bear, brown bear, you name it, right? I feel like this is pushing the limit of what our friend the rear naked choke can do. Like, beating a bear with a rear naked choke is close to the limit. But I feel like it's possible. I think that against animals, a rear naked choke is more powerful than you realize. This technique is the great equalizer. It works against a ton of animals. Sadly, it doesn't work against all of them. Next, the horse. There is nothing conceivably that you can do to it. The best thing you could do to the horse is throw one of those kicks that Jon Jones does, where he like hyperextends your leg, and do that to a horse. But after that, like, then what? Like, you know, you're dealing damage to the horse, but that's all you're doing. But hey, since the horse could technically, possibly, conceivably be hurt, I count that as a win. That's a win in my book. Moving on, a giraffe. Its neck is too thick, and also its head must be even harder than the head of a horse because it uses it as a weapon. If you're not beating a horse, you're not beating a giraffe. Let's just be real. Another thing you're not beating, a boar. It could also be one of those hogs from Africa or any kind of wild pig, really. These things are surprisingly really heavy, they're really fast and really vicious. I don't see any human beating a wild pig of any kind with their bare hands. Moving on, a bull. No, this is not happening. The most I can see a peak human do is that the bull comes towards them, and so they grab it by the horns and they use the bull's own weight and mass to make the bull fall. I could maybe imagine a highly trained human doing that to a bull, but that doesn't hurt the bull. That does nothing to the bull except for confusing it a little bit. It does some emotional damage, so I guess that's it. That's the win, I guess. And with that, it's time for the big guns. Let's talk about the great apes, the one that everyone is excited about. So, a chimpanzee. I'm gonna put this one at right here. Yeah, I know. Stop typing, listen to me. Just let me defend myself. Out of all of these animals, a chimpanzee is the most humanoid. So that means that almost all of the techniques that a highly trained human has, almost all of their skills, still work on the chimpanzee. And I know what people are gonna tell me. You could not, because the chimpanzee is too strong. But that's actually not true. Chimpanzees are not as strong as people make them out to be. If you compare a chimpanzee with a human of a similar weight, yes, the chimpanzee would be stronger. But guess what? People like Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou, or Tom Aspinall, these people weigh a lot more than the chimpanzee. And just like the chimpanzee, Francis Ngannou, John Jones, and Tom Aspinall are stronger than the average person. And speaking of animals whose strength is grossly overhyped, a gorilla. I'm gonna put it here. Now, people will say all sorts of crazy stuff about a gorilla. A gorilla is so strong, he can lift like 20 times his body weight. Think about what that means. If a gorilla could lift 20 times his body weight, you are saying that a gorilla could lift an elephant. That's absolute nonsense. Gorillas are not as strong as people say they are. Also, have you seen a gorilla fight? All they do is just swing their arms wildly. And you gotta be insane to tell me if a gorilla was swinging wildly towards a properly trained human, the human would just stand there and do nothing. Also, someone please explain to me, how would a gorilla escape a rear naked choke? It would have no idea what to do. And that's it. We did it. We talked about the great apes. That was the big one, but we're not done, because although I think that a gorilla is within the realm of possibility for a peak human, there are animals that simply that's just not an option. And one of those is the African elephant. There is just nothing anybody could do to an African elephant. And also a crocodile or an alligator. Lastly, snakes. The death rate against a snake is 100%. You cannot say the same against every other animal. The cope, because we need cope, right? The cope is that a peak human with a spear beats every animal on this planet. The only animal that a peak human with a spear could not defeat is a blue whale. Human with a spear solos 99% of nature. And that, my friends, is the cope. You know, I take a step back and I look at all of it. Yeah, I'm starting to see some holes in my logic. I don't think this list is well thought out, if I'm being honest with you. Which is fitting, really, because just like this list, fighting an animal is a bad idea. And that, my friends, is going to do it. Thank you so much for your time. Check out other videos on my channel. And as usual, have a wonderful day. Take care. See you next time.